Crew Pros, your single source for high-quality, affordable home services. If you are remodeling, repairing, or replacing, Crew Pros are the professionals that can do the job no matter the size. If you are thinking of remodeling your kitchen or bath, needing a new HVAC system, plumbing repairs, flooring, or a complete roof replacement, call Crew Pros. Crew Pros, proud sponsor of the Grizz 901 podcast.
Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said, I don't have that fire in my eye no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Grizz 901. We are presented by our good friends, Zach Jaworski State Farm, where they treat you like family. They treat me like family. They'll treat you like family. All you have to do is give them a call. I'm not your co-host. I am your host, Daniel Greer. But my co-host tonight is none other than Chris Ingram of the No Bluffin Podcast. What's up, Chris?
Man, glad to be here, man. And I know you said co-host. You know, if you want to go ahead and let your spot go, I'll come take over. It's all good, baby. Well, glad to be here, man.
I was just thinking about saying co-host for you, and then I just completely, I just effed that up. Kind of like the Grizzlies did tonight. So, and mainly it was Dylan Brooks with the shot to the nards. So, man, it happens. Real quick before we get into the game. What's your opinion on that whole scuffle, whatever? Was that intentional?
Absolutely. Like, let's not even play. Like, we know Dylan personality. We know exactly what he meant to do on it. And the more and more we kept watching it back, I'm like, yeah, if you fall a certain way, he wasn't trying to catch himself. That was just an unnecessary just swing of the arm. He knew what he was doing. So yeah. Anything happened after that, it was well deserved, and I love Spider. I'm sorry, I know he ain't on our team. I was like, hey, he was well deserved, and whatever reprimand and actions came after that. So, yeah, it's all good though.
No, I like it honestly. It obviously sucked for Grizzlies fans because we're the ones that have to be the ones, not defending, but hearing the BS that comes down from all the other trolls for the most part on the whole Dylan stuff. I am not, and you're not big Dylan fans at all in general. But I would say that I would have done what Donovan Mitchell did, if not probably a little bit more, because I get a little angry about that kind of stuff. So listen, it's all justified. Mainly, he was probably throwing his arm back to try to hit him or knock the ball away, more than likely. I don't know if he was thinking, I'm going to go for his nards, but it happened. In the end of the day, it was fun. It was that scuffle every now and then is always a good time. So I really kind of appreciate that a little bit. But let's get into the game. Go ahead.
I'm just mad they threw him out. I don't feel like it was enough for a throw out because no punches didn't look like it was thrown. It was just a scuffle, So. Yeah, outside of his, like you said, tapping him in the nards, I think that was really it. But it is what it is. We got our butt whooped at the end of the day, and it's time to get these guys to the All-Star break.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to catch their breath quick. And honestly, getting in at 4 a.m. off of a game the night before, you do have some time to get back, right, and to get ready for the game that same day. But man, that's a tough turnaround. Especially on national television. Shout out to Elle, who is a listener of this podcast, also someone who follows Grizzlies. She put out and highlighted when the Grizzlies either won or lost national television games. She also did games that are on NBA TV. And so that was kind of cool to see those, to see maybe what other people around the country are seeing. But overall, if you just did ESPN, ABC, and TNT, th're now 5-6. So it seems a lot worse, but they're only 5-6, which that's not good for a 2 seed out in the West. But it is what it is, right? It is what it is.
Right.
But let's go ahead and get into the game a little bit. The Grizzlies obviously go down 128-113. They scored 112 the last 2 games. So this game, They had an extra point. It was obviously Dylan Brooks getting thrown out. He ends it with 9 points. Ja 24, Desmond had 25, Santi 21. A good game out of him. But also, if you look on the other side, the other guy that got thrown out had 6 points. That's Donovan Mitchell. But Darius Garland, my God, he's so good. 32 points, 11 assists. Jared Allen, 18 and 11. Evan Mobley, who I absolutely raked DraftKings tonight. I absolutely just raked it in. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Talking about a ladder. Let's ladder his points and his rebounds. It was beautiful. 17 points, 14 rebounds from Evan Mobley. And then Seti the Jetty Osman, 21 points, 4 of 8 downtown. Ricky Rubio, 13 points, 3 of 6 downtown. That was a big backbreaker. What are your thoughts on the game overall?
I mean, they kept it close, man. It was a game. Like you said, going back to that national TV thing, like I was worried, with everything that went into it as far as them getting in late, the back-to-back, not having Jaren. I knew when they announced him being an all-star, it was going to get a team a little bit of a jolt of energy that they needed. But after that scuffle, man, it's like it just went downhill. And I'm not gonna say this was just the move that broke the camel's back, but I think putting Jake LaRavia in the game at that time was kind of just not smart. You already wasn't playing Zaire for whatever reason. I know the trade deadline is coming up, so it could be to get some guys some more court time, maybe to up their trade value or to keep him out of getting hurt. I don't know, but putting Jake in, I was just like, okay, like. The game is getting spicy right now. We don't really need Jake that's been not playing at all, basically, to come in here and whatever. And shout out to Jake. I love Jake. I think he's gonna become a great NBA player at some point. I just don't know how long it's gonna take, but that wasn't the time. So entertain the game. Like you said, Donovan Mitchell didn't really do too much before he got thrown out, so that kind of was a wash. But I mean, on the predictions, it was one of the games that I put this week we were gonna lose anyway. I mean, the way they was set up, I'm not too worried about that one at all. Like I said earlier, and I know they are too. They tired, man. This was the first night in a couple of weeks with all the losing that we've been going through that I seen Ja have some type of excitement. I told you last night when you was on the postgame show, I was like, you need to tweet that man again, bro, because he has not. It just ain't been looking fun to him. And I don't know if it's been something going on off the court. That ain't my business, but it hasn't been the same job in that aspect. He's been putting up numbers, but the excitement hasn't been rubbing off on the team. And so you got to see that tonight. That was probably the one positive. And again, that could be the all-star thing. But they needed a jolt of energy. They had it just up until that scuffle, man. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, John's up with 30 minutes overall. And let me get your take on this. So John was off the ball a lot because of foul trouble. And so they moved him off the ball to allow him to be on the court, but not be the offensive threat he was on a normal basis, because when he turns the corner and he gets downhill, he obviously can pick up an extra offensive, charge or an offensive foul going to the basket. But that doesn't happen a lot of times. So their decision to go away from him being on ball more and being where Tyus Jones is in the game, or maybe when Tyus Jones wasn't it just seemed like he just stood around. Did you see that at all?
Yeah. It was a lot of that.
Why? Like, I don't understand.
I can't put my finger on it, man. It's one of those things. Like, I understand the Tyus and him backcourt and what it provides sometimes, but again, if Ja's not locked into Showtime Ja, where he's going for the backdoor cuts, he's going for just the highlights. If he's not locked into that mentality, it's not really that great of a adjustment that particular night. And so I would much rather him be getting some rest and bring some other guys in. Maybe at that time you already have brought in Desmond Bane to where he can get some Ja can get some rest. But you're right, it was a lot of standing around, and I'm not gonna say he was folding because that's not Ja's personality. No matter who's on the court, he gonna compete every single night for the most part. But it was a lot of standing around. So you wasn't the only one that seen that. I said that a couple of times myself, like, what is going on?
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, I don't know. If he can only play on the ball, then really what? I don't know. What can he benefit to his other teammates besides him driving, getting downhill? If he has the chance, he's a score first guard. He is going to score. That's what he does. But
Right.
if he doesn't, if he feels like he has somebody else coming over, he'll look to kick it out. And he's great at kicking it out to an open shooter. So all that is great. But if he can't become a different type of player, how long can he do that? And how deep can the Grizzlies go on a playoff run? Because eventually you have to get the ball around and get more people involved. That's the reason that Desmond Bane had the night he had. There's a
Right.
reason that Desmond Bane, what did he go? 6 of 7 from deep because he was more involved. He had the ball in his hands more. He was able to drive. He was able to move the ball. The ball came to him pretty often. He's feeling the ball. So that's the
Right.
thing is, I think that benefits Desmond Bane. Ja has to figure it out. He has to want to swallow his pride a little bit and say, hey, I have to figure out how to play with my teammates.
Yep. Well, what happened to the mid-range jumper that we saw him working on all summer? Like, it started off in the beginning of the season. You could see, like, I remember like it was yesterday because it was my anniversary. We was out to eat, me and my wife, and we were watching the game. It was on national TV against the Knicks.
Yeah.
And he was showing out. I think it was a home game, but he was showing out. I mean, he was showing everything that he worked on the whole off season. I can't really put my finger right now on when we kind of start to see that fade, but it's been literally the go get a bucket job, which is basically go to one of the corners, either get a screen or get the switch, and then he does that little shuffle move, get to the basket, draw a
Right.
foul, or he's gonna, make the basket. But the mid-range that we just knew he was about to add consistently every single night, that was gonna unlock this team. Like,
Right.
Jaren the way he's playing is unlocking this squad this year. Obviously, Bane taking the leap is unlocking a whole nother level. But us getting to where you can't stop Ja, you can't. I mean, you can try the game plan, but if those guys are doing what they do and he's knocking down that mid range or creating that mid range for himself, that opens it up for him. But if it's just, man, it's that part is not frustrating. I just don't know why he's going away from it. Because I can't even tell you the last game where I saw him maybe like make it a point of emphasis to try to get to that spot. I just can't. So maybe you seeing something different than I am. But I mean, even the floaters, I mean, it's like straight layups, getting contact. That's it. It's nothing else. If I got a wide open three, I'm gonna take that. But I don't know, man. It's maybe, like you said, I keep going back to it. Maybe it's mental fatigue. That's all that I can chalk it up to at this point.
It has to be that because Ja is so good at so many different things within the paint, whether it is the floater, whether it is the pull up J from the free throw line. He did that tonight. I think it was one of his last shots that he made. But he is doing the whole scoop with the left hand most of the time, and it's beautiful. It works. He's not being too inefficient. He's 9 of 20. Okay. He's almost shoot 50%. So I don't want to knock on the guy on his offensive, on the offensive side, because whatever he's doing, I'm going to let him cook, right? Let him keep doing what he's going to do. I just want to see a development out of him where he can be off the ball and get the ball into Desmond Bane's hands more than just, hey, you catch and shoot. Because if I promise you, and I know you're the same way, and you know a lot about ball and you play a little bit. If you play and you don't ever touch the ball, when you actually touch it, one, you want to shoot because you're afraid you might not ever get it back, right? You don't want to pass the ball. Two, you're ice cold and you're just feeling it probably for the first time up and down the court 10 times. You're just feeling the ball. It doesn't feel the same as just somebody who has the ball back and forth, passing it around. It's just like, I don't know, just having something in your hand, feeling it, understanding it. It obviously makes life a little bit easier. So there's a reason he went 6 of 7 tonight. I do believe, and I think that is because he had the ball in his hands more often. So we'll see. But I don't want to knock on Ja too much. Lord knows he's probably watching it live right now. I don't know. More than likely. We've had our run-ins. But I want to see him do a little bit more, because if he would go off the ball more and then swing around and come back to the top of the key and catch it while he's moving, that's an extra step he has on the defender, and then he's even creating more movement, and that's really what they need. But let's get one more thing I want to get into. Let's get off of Ja and on to Jake. All right. Let's just have the conversation. I love Taylor Jenkins. I think he is a great coach for these dudes. I think they look up to him. I think they enjoy him. I think he is a decent coach. Okay. He's never going to wow you in his X's and O's. There's a lot of things that he probably has to decide between, coming maybe from the front office. It's a political game in a sense. But why are we playing Jake? And should he ever play again for the rest of the year?
Damn, that was a spicy one right there. For the rest, I mean, it really, honestly,
no, he shouldn't. You're right.
Well, it comes down to what happens next week. If we keep this same,
if we make a move that requires Jake from Wake to effing play, that is not the move I want. He needs to be in a hustle uniform for the rest of the year and figure himself out. Dude was out there just running around. He was doing the Russell Westbrook, and it's absolutely atrocious. What did he go? 7 minutes tonight, 0-2. Both of them were 3-pointers. 4 fouls and a rebound.
That's crazy.
Come on, man.
That's crazy. Man, he got his first one like maybe 2 seconds in for being out there. Like, I don't know. Only reason I say depending on what happens next week is because, like, and I'm not touching on the OG thing. I'm just saying, like, if whatever player that they possibly will get in a trade if they decide to make one, if it's dependent upon them taking back young prospects or young players, then more than likely, if we made that trade, Zaire is gone. That's number one. I would hope and pray that they don't get rid of Roddy, but if they decide to say, hey, this is what makes the deal work, and this player that we're getting back is just going to be this wonderful piece that we need, then the only other wing prospect that you got at that point is Conchar and LaRavia. So what do? You know, you got to choose between the one or the other, and Conchar right now, I know he went through concussion protocol and he ain't been really playing that great before that. And I would never knock him because the amount of money that he gets paid, I'm not worried about what he does. He's here to fill that spot on that roster and be an emergency guy. But yeah, I mean, it just really depends on that. If Jake is the only one left, then yeah, he gonna play. But I mean, they got to get him more reps than what they're getting him like tonight.
But he's playing in the G League though. And he's honestly, they're completely different games. Like a G League and NBA is a completely different pace, right? Nobody 100%. Probably understands that. If you see it up close, I promise you, it is night and day. And that's the reason a player like Kenny Lofton Jr. can dominate that, because it's a slower game. It really is. They're not as big. It's not the same game the NBA is. But if you look at when he comes in, he looks a step slow, and maybe he does need the more play, going against a high level talent such as the NBA players are, but he looks a step slow. Nothing seems right for him. He looked like he was just kind of out of it a little bit. And so maybe that is, but if it was me, I'm saying, hey, this year is all but a wash for you, buddy. You're going to be down in the G League. I want you to develop your 3-point shot, because I don't know if he's made one in a long, long time.
It's been a minute.
And that's what he's here for.
Well, my thing is this, and it goes back to the argument that I keep bringing up with Zaire, like, and I don't care what nobody say. You won't change my mind on this. Like, I'm totally fine with sending these rookies down to the G League.
Right.
Every single rookie in the last couple of years outside of Desmond Bane, BC, and Ja, they've at some point had a stint of a couple games throughout the season in South Haven. I can't count on my hand, and I need to go back and do the research. Maybe he hasn't ever played a game in South Haven. I don't remember him. And so my thing is, if we're gonna do this with Zaire, we need to keep the same energy with all these other ones that we're bringing in, that it's at least first round picks, because now it's like he just tossing them out in the game. Like, okay, tonight, Zaire, you get a couple minutes. All right, tonight, Roddy, you ain't played in 2 weeks. You get a couple minutes. Jake, you ain't played in about 2 months. You get a couple minutes. Like, that ain't building nobody's confidence. They're not developing anything doing that. And it's not helping the team, because when they get out there, it's one or two things going to happen. They worried about making a mistake, or they're going to kind of probably stay away from the ball. And if they get it, it's not going to be a good thing that happens because they just don't have any – they don't have no game time to get into a rhythm. So, I really don't understand it. Like you said it on our pod about a week ago or two, like Esther get out the pot. It's really getting time to do that because you ain't doing nothing but hurting these guys. I feel like Santi was a little different. He just really didn't play much last year. And when he did, he had some highlights. That's it. He knew to put his head down over the offseason, work his butt off, and we see what's paying off. Hats off to that guy because I was the main one in Grizzlies saying he was not an NBA player and was not even surprised with the Summer League. Proved me 100% wrong, and I'm a fan for life of that dude. But, like, you just got to make up your mind what you're doing with them, and I know we'll get, hopefully, some type of regulation next week, but, man, it's frustrating to watch. And, again, like, you just putting Jake in a bad position. Like, we're talking about him now, not because anything he really did wrong outside of doing too much fouling in that little bitty amount of time, but – TJ put him in that position.
He did. Hey, all right. So I want to throw that out there. So Taylor Jenkins gave him that opportunity, right? As a coach, that takes balls to put him out there. And I'm going to defend. I'm going to defend Taylor on that. It takes balls to put him out there and go with a guy. I don't know the reasoning. I probably wouldn't agree with the reasoning, but maybe he was looking for something, right? And maybe you're looking for a spark from somebody who you feel, honestly, in Zaire, you haven't had a spark. So maybe that's the reason he goes away from Zaire and that opportunity, and he goes to Jake to see. It takes balls and it takes guts to do that. So as fans, they're going to criticize Taylor for playing him. But honestly, as a coach, I think that takes a lot more guts to playing than not playing because the easy way out is just to put Zaire in there, right? So I want to give Taylor his credit because I do think that does take guts. I just don't know now after seeing that if we need to see that again. Maybe that was hey, you took your chance. Let's see if we got something in there. And we don't. The bottle's empty. There's no genie.
At that moment, though, that's my only issue. You didn't play him for the whole first half, and you put him in after a scuffle. Like,
well, he was inserting him in, and that's to his flaw. He's inserting him into Dylan Brooks's spot because then he can keep the same rotations going the entire game. Because then if you put, I don't know, Conchar in that spot, then you have to have somebody backfill Conchar's spot, or you go down to 9 people. He doesn't like running a 9-person thing. He has it in his mind what minutes everybody's playing, and he has the assistant coaches. He doesn't sub them in. The assistant coaches says, hey, Zaire, come on, you're going to get whoever. So he has his minute by minute, set, I guess, rotations. Foul trouble obviously throws that off. People getting thrown out throws it off. And that's the reason he played those 7 minutes. But I don't understand that. I don't understand throwing Zaire in there the last 4 minutes of the game. I think Zaire's better than Jake. That also makes me, I don't know. There's a lot I'm questioning with that. I just don't understand it at all.
What I mean, you basically pour gas on my frustration and a lot of people that are critiquers of TJ. You said it perfectly. You said that he has this perfect game plan, and as soon as something happened, instead of me tweaking my game plan on the fly, nope, I don't want to tweak my game plan. Let me just insert something to keep it going how I envision it to go. That's an issue, man. That's an issue. And going it, like, I know people, I'm a big believer that the regular season matters only about this much. It gets you seed, but you at some point, if I'm a second seed and I play the 7th seed, guess who I'm gonna have to play that next round? Who I would have played if I was a lower seed. So it really don't matter. You're gonna play the best teams. So you need to be working on, basically this is your time to train for the playoffs. You training for that fight. And if you out there just doing whatever, you're not actually training to be in that position later on. And when you get in that position, like, now you're scrambling. And that's the thing, I won't even go on that because I know that's not the topic tonight. But TJ, be better, man. Please. We love you, but please be better.
And honestly, I don't care about the regular season too much as long as they are a team that looks like they're trying. That's there's a lot of teams that don't try. I promise you that they're no fun. They don't want to be there, and it's miserable to be a fan of a team like that. So the fact that the players want to be there, I don't care what the rotations look like for the most part, because if there's a reason and a system that you've created to keep players either healthy, maybe playing with certain people because that's the way you're going to play it more in the playoffs because you're going to limit, usually you take 2 people out of that 10-man rotation, you go to 8.
Right.
I want to see what the rotations look like more into the playoffs. And I think it's going to change. It's going to adjust. But we've been there, right? We went to the play-in. All right. Then we got boned by Utah. And then we go and played last year. And it was a completely scramble, right? There was no way to really evaluate the way everything was. TJ made a decision to go away from Steve-O in Minnesota. And then he went with BC. Then he went with Xavier Tillman to put him into Steve-O's spot. So I will give him that so far of last year. What I saw, I think I'm okay with. But I want to see this year. As long as everybody's healthy, I think we have a chance to really see a little bit of more of what his rotations look like. So enough about that. Real quick, give me maybe 30 seconds to a minute. Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm very impressed by them. What is their playoff potential? Because I think that team is really good.
Oh yeah, I mean it's your first year with Donovan Mitchell, so you still working at the kinks with that, but you still have 2 home run hitters with him and Garland. Like him not getting an All-Star nod. I don't know. I mean it's a lot of guards over there in the East that deserve it. So I guess it was just a tight race of it all. We knew in the West who pretty much the main guards that was gonna get it. I know you got some Kings fans that's worried about Fox not getting it, but anyway, in regards to the Cavaliers, man, teams gonna have to see them. I know they rumored to make certain moves. Marginal moves is all they need, and if Mobley, if he's able to just, I know you hit big on him tonight. He played a pretty good game, but he didn't have Jaren on the other side. He didn't have Steve on the other side. Smart man. I missed it. I'm so mad I missed that. But yeah, man, he's gonna be the key piece of that, just being that I would say just that third offensive piece. Him and Allen rebounding on the defensive end and stuff like that will be fine. Team's gonna have to see them. I would love to see a conference finals. I don't know how this will work out, but Boston and them conference finals.
Wow,
I think that'll be pretty good. Because you got those 2 bigger wing players over there with Boston, but they gonna give Marcus Smart hell. Garland and Mitchell. So
yeah. It's going to be great. I love Cleveland. They were my team, probably my most favorite team to really watch before the season started. We went through here and did some predictions on this podcast, but also on Free Basketball. And we were able to kind of, chat about who else around the NBA are you looking forward to seeing? And they were my number 1 team just because I love Mobley. I love Garland. And Jared Allen being who they are, man, they've been absolutely just dynamite. And then you bring in Donovan Mitchell, who is a lightning rod, who can just go off. He's the guy who's an X factor in the game. You have a guy that Mr. Consistent, Darius Garland, who can be a true point guard for the 2 bigs. And then you have a guy like Donovan Mitchell who can just go off for 30 just in a quarter at, just going crazy sometimes. He's that guy, and he's the guy who, if he gets hot, you ride him, and when he's not, you just kind of lean on the other guys. And so, love the Cavaliers. I thought that it was a great game overall, and so outside of really them just pulling away late and having a lot of their subs, kind of knock down a lot of 3-pointers, it really was a good game. And so, shout out to them. All right, news breaks before the game. Jaren Jackson Jr., All-Star Black Panther. What was your thoughts on that? Because I have a funny story, but I'm going to go ahead and let you share first. Like, what were you just shocked? Like when you saw it, heard it, whatever, where were you?
I was sitting, it was so funny. Baby girl had just woke up from a nap. I'm sitting there playing with her pretend kitchen. And I seen the East come through. So I seen the East
making pancakes.
Yeah, man. Whatever
Daddy?
she wanted to make me. We make
it. Can you get the ketchup?
Yes, sir. And so I see the notification for the East come through. So I'm like, oh snap, they are announcing it tonight. Dang. So I get on my phone, put it on DirecTV stream real fast. I'm like, all right, I'm at least have it playing in the background. And sure enough, they came back from commercial and they started naming off the names. Ja goes first. And when they got to second to last, which was it Laurie?
It was Laurie Marketing.
He was second to last, right?
Yeah, I think so. because they talked about his perm, his curls.
Yeah. When they said that, the only thing I was worried about at that one moment was De'Aaron Fox, because I saw some reports today. They was like, it's around the league. They were like, he's gonna be the guy. And but here's the thing though. I made the case on the last No Bluffin Pod. I said, look, man, he's defensive player of the year front runner right now. You got to factor that in. You got to factor in his defensive rating and the impact he had when he came back from injury. You got to factor in he's about to be the block leader in 14, 15 less games. The offensive impact that he's brought this year, if they get him the damn ball, which we just saw him come off his biggest shot attempts ever, so like all this stuff factor in second in the West, like it's not really any other big that was playing better than him. If you give it to AD, that's a LA bias thing. If they would have came out with Andrew Wiggins, now I would have raised hell.
Oh my God.
But I definitely thought it was a big spot. They already had 3-4 guards at that point. PG is a guard listed. That's what he listed as. So I knew once they put him in there, we were fine, at least with one more spot. So when he popped up last, man, I said, I predicted it, but at the same time, it was just you know how they do Memphis, man. Sometimes we just don't get the respect. So I wasn't surprised he deserved it. But I definitely yelled real quick. Baby girl was like, "What are you yelling for?" So she don't understand. She'll know. She'll know pretty soon.
She'll see it. Our guy, Black Lives Matter. My guy beat all the allegations. The Reddit allegations.
That helped. Appreciate y'all.
I do think that helped. Absolutely, because it brought Jaren to the forefront of pretty much the social media for maybe a day. Because there's a lot of people that went and looked through his stats and looked through his blocks and saw the video. And I don't know if they've already voted or not, but I do think that could help because he was the topic of conversation. But their plan did backfire for sure. So it was funny. So I am a guy who during a game, I'm very much chill. I'm watching. I'm like, F this, like, just kind of conversational. Like it's not, I don't yell. I don't get up and scream. Except for like playoff times, I will get up and I'm kind of walking and pacing while I'm watching a game, but most of the time I'm just on the couch. Having a nice beverage most of the time, and I'm sitting next to my wife tonight. She's actually was reading a book while before the game started, and we're just sitting there, and I see it. I'm like, all right. She goes, "What are you saying about Ja?" And I'm saying, I'm something stupid, ski, whatever. I gotta be like the kids, so I put that out, and then I'm sitting there, not paying attention too much, just watching it, and all of a sudden they said from Memphis. And my eyes just got big. And he said,
"You knew it."
I said, "No effing way." I stood up. I said, "There's no effing way." And she goes, "What? What? Is he an all-star?" I said, "Yes." She goes, "I've never seen you act like this." I go, "I don't know what I'm doing." I can't believe that they actually voted him in. And it was a moment that I was proud. I was proud of him because he's obviously become so much better as a player. He's filling out into his man body, and he's really is becoming that true 2, or he could be 2A, 2B to Ja's 1. I just think that it's very deserving. I don't know if he deserved it this year as much, so I don't want to say he didn't. Okay, I don't know if he was more deserving than the others, but it goes to show they're rewarding defense because its stats do not show it on the offensive end. Right? It absolutely does not. But because he's been such a menace on the defensive end, I really do think it showed. And I think they took account because he was not up there in the fan voting. So that 50% of the fan voting, then you have the media and then was 25%, and the coaches is 25%. So the media and the coaches had to pretty much trump the rest of the fan vote that he did not have. And so shout out to Jaren. Shout out to all his fans, because there's a lot of people that ride for 13, and I think that they deserve to have the day, being proud. Don't take that smile off their face for sure.
They got to be a big confidence boost for him too. Like just everything that he done went through, like just I know he hear the outside noise, and it tripped me out when he get on interviews and he act like he don't know what's going on. Like, Jerry, you 22, 23 years old, like you live on social media, you know you know what the pulse of NBA Twitter is going on. You know what Grizz Twitter is saying. You got Devin Walker as one of your best friends, so you know he's probably feeding you some of the stuff that's going on. And I haven't been a Jaren critiquer. I've been a supporter of his. It's just, get him the ball, put him in the spaces to win and grow into your body. That's about the best thing I could say on him. But you can see the potential from his first year. So to go through what he's been through, and then the injury stuff, and for the last 2 years outside of missing 14 games, been pretty much healthy. I'm happy for that guy. Very proud, like you said, to be a Grizzly fan, and for us to send 2 guys out there. Now we just got to get Dez in there next year. That's the big thing.
I believe we're the only team out in the West. I haven't looked at the East. Only team out in the West that has 2 players on the All-Star game. Is that right? Because AD didn't make it. They were going to have LeBron and AD as the only 2. And so I was curious if for some reason they were going to do that. And at that point, then you have one of the worst teams in the West have 2 All-Stars. Yeah, it did make sense. Yeah, so there's only 2 more games left before the All-Star break. I think it's important that they get a chance to take a deep breath. But I do think that this is much needed more than it probably has been before, because I think now the expectations are the highest they've ever been for a team. They've been able to get away with a little bit more and say, hey, we're just a fun young team. Now they've kind of been there for the most part. They've been to the playoffs. Now they're trying to get back to the second and third round, potentially. Like, they're one of the better teams. This isn't a surprise this year. Expectations are high. They probably need to catch their breath. There's 2 more games for the All-Star break. We get to celebrate 2 guys. They have 2 days off. I would imagine tomorrow is an off day. I would imagine. They're not going to wake those guys up. I don't even know if they're staying in Cleveland. I don't know if they're going home. If it was me, I'd say, hey, get me to my bed. I want to be in my bed. But 2 days off, play Sunday against the Raptors. They will not have OG. Before we talk about that game, and before I actually give you a exercise, I'm going to ask you, who are the players you're keeping? Trade deadline comes. What players are you making sure do not leave your team? Okay. And that's going to be, we know the guarantees are going to be Ja, Jaren, and Bane, right? So anybody else, I want to give you, run you through that little exercise real quick. Before we get to that, our presenting sponsor is Zach Jaworski State Farm. I promise you, they will take care of you, give you a good rate. They gave me a good rate. Right now, this house, everything I am, they insure me. But Zach is a great guy. He's a close friend of mine, but he runs a very, very good State Farm agency. Give him a call, 901-443-4798 at zachinsuresmemphis.com, 901-443-4798. All right. Enough for that. They paid the bills, right? So we got to give them a little bit of a shout out. All right. So what players are you keeping, Chris? Okay. And I'm not saying I don't want you to give me every one of them. Okay. We got to tease the bag a little bit. All right. So number 1, you got 3 players. We're keeping Ja, Jaren, and Bane. Somebody calls. Who is the guy that they say you go, nope, not that guy?
I think we all can agree Steven Adams is off the table.
Great. Okay. That was my 4th one. He's my guarantee. You can't get him away. The other guys, it's going to be a little weird. All right. We're going to have a conversation, but we're on the same page. Those are our first 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the next guy?
I might surprise you with this one. I'm going to say Santi Aldama.
Wow. Okay. All right. So if you had to choose, if they say, hey, I have to have one of these guys, I have to, and they give you everything works out perfectly, you get your dream guy. And he says, all right, you got to give me one of these guys because we're equal on both. You got to give me either Santi or you got to give me Brandon Clark. Which one are you giving me?
Peace out, Santi.
Really?
We got to have Steve-O. I'm sorry. I'm with Anthony Side 100%. It's sickening to
not Steven Adams. Did I say Steven Adams? No, Brandon Clark.
Oh, I didn't hear you say Brandon Clark. My bad. So BC or Santi?
Yeah, Brandon Clark or Santi Aldama. You start talking about Steve-O's. I was like, no. I love Steve-O. We're not losing him. Santi or Brandon Clark.
Oh, BC, I love you too, bro. What you got to do?
Wow.
I just think to see. Okay. Let me explain my case. And me and Black Lives Matter, I love when me and him agree because we don't agree on much, but when we agree, I love it. That's my guy. That's my guy. I like that guy. The reason is like when you talking about to me, he has one of the biggest leaps in the NBA. Like he was not a formidable NBA player last year. Like he was, I said it and I stand on that. He was on the same plane as Marco Guterich when he was here.
Wow.
Marco Guterich, he was fine up the threes over there in Europe. He got over here and couldn't bust a great. I don't know what it was. Like me and Sane was on the phone last week. It's like it's got to be confidence. It's definitely confidence. Like he was comfortable over there. He gets to America and we don't know what happens. He even looked weird being around them when they was dancing and stuff. He just was uncomfortable as hell. Santi, he got a little swag. I remember that, what was it, the open practice last year. I mean, he did a little, he did one of those. Yeah, he had a little swag to him there. He couldn't play, but he had a little swag. And then so you see him just over this last year, man. He put in the work and he's so versatile. We talking about what we lost in Kyle. Like he's that at 7 feet that can shoot way better. Like I can't remember how many threes he hit tonight, but that's gonna come into play in the playoffs. Like I'm sitting there watching the game and I'm like, those players that we always been hating to play over the years, like you go against a Dario Saric or what was the guy? It was a couple. I want to say Ja's rookie year. He played for the Pelicans. It was the MLK game. He was a tall foreign guy, but he was busting our ass from three. I can't remember his name. But these just
Hernan Gomez, was it?
Not Hernan Gomez. It was another guy. He had a weird name. I don't even think he's in the league no more. But he had kind of like a shaggy type haircut. I'm gonna find his name in a second. But these guys that are not like the main guys, but they come in and they just bust you up from three in the playoffs. Santi is gonna be that guy. He has confidence now, and he's gonna get better. Like to see him be not an NBA player to be to me, it's me saying that. Like I can go pull up the receipts of me hanging this guy this summer. Like so. I think he's gonna be good, man. And BC, I love him to death, but he's a one-trick pony at the end of the day. Like I love when he's in the middle of that zone. We saw him be able to help Ja break that zone. But he don't offer you too much outside of that, outside of being an energy guy. And so if I got to go with somebody that's gonna actually kill somebody in the playoffs, that's gonna be a weapon for the next 10 years, I got to go Santi, man. I got to.
Yeah. I'm curious when he gets that extension because I think he's a player that will get an extension similar to what BC got. BC for the future, whether he's here or whether they trade him, but dude, he's about to make 12.5 over the next 4 years, right? So 4-year 50, 12.5 each year. You can trade that guy any year you want if you do want to trade him. And he's still going to hold value because he is a hustler and he's a guy that will help you win games, right? Yeah. So BC's contract is amazing. The funny thing is we're 5 of 5. That's my next guy is Santi. I keep him over anybody else on that bench, anywhere else on this team. Santi, a huge fan of Santi, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that he has completely just added a whole nother level to his game. And weirdly enough, him and Zaire spent their time in the offseason together. And
man.
It just, I don't know what happened. I think that knee injury really set him back. So I have another exercise I'm going to send you through, but I want to find out, is there another person? Because I want to have this lead me into my next exercise with you. There's somebody that calls. Is there? It doesn't have to be anybody, but is there? You're like, hey, there's no. It would take a lot. Let's go there. It would take a lot for you to get rid of this person.
It's hard for me to choose between these two because let me tell you, it's not Tyus.
Yeah,
Tyus, he has the salary, so and I will go in there another day. It's not Tyus. It's not Zaire. It's really going to come down for me to be Jake or Roddy. And I'm definitely leaning Roddy more just because listen, we talk about OG and all these other players. I think the replacement for Dylan, if we can't get that crazy 3 or 4 stretch, whatever we're looking for to replace Dylan with, I think he's the perfect Dylan replacement down the road. If he can take some type of small jump like Desmond took from year 1 to year 2, not year 2 to year 3, he's going to be fine. I love what Roddy brings, and it's just going to be confidence for him. With Jake, my only fear, man, is that what that dude can turn into if he puts in the work. Now, it is kind of crazy that I didn't really realize this till last week. Like I've heard it, but I didn't realize it, and just it really set in that he didn't start until his senior year. And if he did 3 years in college, that means he's been playing organized basketball for 4 years. Right. That's insane for a wing player. We see that a lot with like these international guys that are like big players, like Joel Embiid, like these guys that are big men. Fine, I get that. But for an American-born player to only be playing professional ball for 4 years, it's scary. So the risk reward could be great on his end, but I'm gonna have to say Roddy if I'm gonna say this is the guy I want to keep.
Wow.
What you got?
I see. I didn't expect that at all. I think it's BC for me. I think it's BC for me because BC gives you a little bit of versatility. I think he allows you to be the team and the versatile team that you actually are. And I think that his ceiling is right there where he kind of is. I don't know if he's getting much better. I don't know if he's getting much worse, but you already have him locked up in a contract, and that's the difference. It's not because he's so much better than Jake or Roddy or honestly anybody else on this team. It's the fact that we know who he is and what he gives you. And so he's the guy that if you want to get him, you're going to have to bring it, right? And honestly, we're going to get back a little bit more, especially when his contract goes up to 12.5. We're going to get a little bit more back for him than we would one of these other players. So I know what I'm getting out of him, and that's why I'm going to go with him. A little comparison real quick. I think Roddy is a better John Conchar. I'm not saying they're the same. I think they're both those type of players. They are glue guys, people that are going to be your 8, 9, 10 on the bench. You need them for a championship team. You must have a guy like that, a guy who can rebound, play out on the perimeter, guard 1 through whatever. He's a better John Conchar for the simple fact that he's able to still guard, but he can go up. He can go up in size a little bit more, and he actually can guard people with a little bit more girth to him. But what is he? He's a guy that if he makes a 3, you're happy. If he makes a few shots, you're happy. But he's not going to do anything that's going to wow you, except for maybe just kind of give you a little bit of wiggle every now and then. And you're like, all right, the wiggle's back. The wiggle's here. So I don't know. But BC's my guy. All right. So let's put you the last one.
Okay.
If you have to choose right now, they'll call you and say, hey, you got to send me one of these guys. You got to send me either Jake or Roddy. Who are you sending me? Who are you sending out?
Who are we sending them to? The East or the West?
Doesn't matter, Chris. The Lakers.
Oh boy. See that makes it tough because I don't want to get him another potential shooter. I'm with you. I'm with you, bro. I'm gonna send Jake. I gotta send Jake. I got to. I do. You say he's a better Roddy, but I don't know. I think he's what the people that critique Dylan, I'll just say that. The people that are not on DB Island, I think he's what we want DB to be.
You're talking about Jake?
No, Roddy.
No,
I think
Roddy.
Yeah, I think he's what we want him to be as far as on the basketball court. Not all the antics, not all the hoorah, not all the tapping people in the nuts, like none of that. But as far as just being a high basketball IQ player, playing within your role, I mean, we see now his rookie year, he can play great defense. If he can work on his shot, if he can work on his confidence, his handle over the summer, which I'm pretty sure in the summer league, we've been doing it the last 3 years. Why not? Why change it now? Put the ball in Roddy's hands, and you see what happens from there. I think I'm gonna keep him for the long term over Jake for sure.
All right. Well, then, would you Roddy or Zaire?
Roddy.
Wow. Is Roddy your highest after Santi?
On these wing guys, Tyus is not going to be here in after next year. If he's gone. If he's here, it don't make sense. Like, you love Memphis too much at that point. because you ain't gonna get the money that you're getting right now. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah.
But if he stayed, great. But yeah, I'm of the mindset, man, is other ways that we can upgrade this team. And with us having our big three, we have to focus on that. Like even going back to what you were saying with BC, the only reason why he's not high up in my list of like players that I need to keep is for the simple fact, if I got a Roddy, which is a wing, and I got Santi, which is, I don't even know what to classify him at, because I know he's 7 foot, but that dude can do so much.
Stretch.
Yeah. So if I'm trying to fill out that second unit, right, I know I probably can go get me a cheap backup point guard, like I'm gonna say a stupid name, but whatever, like a Dellavedova, or TJ McConnell, or Campaign, like those type of guys that are cheap. I can go grab one of them just to run the backcourt on the second unit. But I want to grab me a shooter to add to that, and I want to add me a rim running big that can rebound, i.e. like a JaVale McGee, not him particularly, but just that style of play. And I think that solidifies that bench. If I got Santi and BC, I can't do that as far as on the big side. So, yeah, man, if I got to keep one, I'm keeping Roddy. I love the idea of Zaire. Me and my wife were just talking about this. We heard this on a movie, and this woman was talking about, I don't love him. I love the idea of him. And she was like, what does that even mean? And I had to break it down because I had to think about it for a second. But
let me put it in basketball terms.
Yeah, there you go. She hooped too, so she understood it when I broke it down. It's funny you said that. But yeah, Zaire, like I love the idea of him, a 16, almost 7 foot, being able to put the ball on the floor and hit mid-range and create for himself and defend and catch lobs from Ja Morant. Like I love the idea of it, but until he get it up in here, it's just the idea. And it's just like Jake. So I know Roddy got it in here, and that's why I put him ahead of them guys.
Wow. Yeah, I like Roddy, man. He is a dog, absolutely, through and through. And I didn't see it for forever, honestly. And I see what Nate saw, right? Even though I think all that was fake, and I think that was luck from Nate. There's no way in the world he even knew who that guy was, except for
they had a crazy summer.
Yeah, he did. He probably smoked a bowl out in Colorado and said, "I like Colorado. There's a guy." But anyway, yeah, I like Roddy as well, and I think that he really could be Mr. Consistent on that bench unit. And I really think that he would be the guy that they probably won't come off of. And I have a piece that's coming out, and I wrote it. I've sent it in. It should be edited out hopefully over the weekend. It's a trade piece. It's all about the window of the Grizzlies. And a lot of people don't really look at the window as much because this team is good and they can be really good. But if you look at them on paper, and that's what I strictly paper, there is no me. Well, okay, there was a little bit of me in there. Just I had to S talk a little bit on Dylan, but there was a little bit of me in there. But mainly it's on paper. And if you look at them on paper, it looks great. Like the team really does look great. They're lined out for the future. They're paying their young guys, and they pay them out where they're actually getting extensions. They're paying their core guys. It makes sense. If you look at this team, they don't have anybody with a player option. Everybody has either a straight salary or it is a team option. Nobody on the team has a player option. Go look at everybody else's books. There's player options everywhere. It's weird.
Right.
It's different. It's weird. But I will say that if you look at it, this year they have a guy like Danny Green who's making $10 million. You have Dylan Brooks, right? But both can be very important to this team. Next year, the only two players outside of our young guys who are all making $5 million or less. That's Zaire, who's making $4.5 million. Everybody. They have 3 draft picks. They have 7 people right now making under $5 million on the roster. Those 3 draft picks, you add all of them to this team, that's 10 people making under $5 million. You can't have a team like that, right? It's too top heavy. You can't have a team like that. So what do you do this year? You have 2 guys. They're both on expiring contracts. If you let them walk, you have nobody to trade for. And obviously your books are fairly even. The only thing you can do is go into free agency and grab somebody. And how often do the Grizzlies grab people in free agency? It's very rare. Next year, you look at the books next year. The only 2 people that you're willing to trade is BC, who's making 12.5, and you want to trade a guy maybe like Tyus, who's on an expiring. He's going to be making $14 million. But at what point does his draft or his trade stock fall because he's on an expiring contract of $14 million? What team is going to pull them from you and give you a good player if they're really wanting to contend for a championship too? Because that's the reason you get a guy like Tyus.
Yeah,
it's very tough. Like the Grizzlies are very strapped in a different way for being able to make a move. They have a lot of draft picks, but they're also strapped in a different way than people don't really realize. You have to send out to get the same amount of money back. You have to make the money match. And I think it's very important to look at that. And so just check out my article when it does come out. I think it's going to be kind of cool to see. But I just kind of started thinking about it, and I go, "Why don't I just write something?" I never write either. I never write. Nate's gonna kill me when he sees it. He's gonna be like, "All right, what's this?"
I just want to know how many pages. I mean, how many words it is.
1,700. 1,700.
Okay. That ain't
not
bad.
too bad. I asked. I was like, "Is this too long? Too long."
That's a good read. I want to touch on that real quick before we go to the next subject.
Go ahead.
Because like the grid space went long last night and ended up getting shut out. Twitter Spaces just kind of went down on us last night. I don't know what happened, but I still had some thoughts that I had to get out, and so I got them out. And one of the things that really hit me last night, and we've talked about this before in the group chat, on podcast, stuff like that, but just in regards to if they don't make any kind of move going exactly with what you were just talking about right now, it's really going to be detrimental. And I think at the very least, you make a move off Dylan or off Danny. You got to choose which one, because I mean, maybe you could use some of these younger players that got smaller salaries. I just don't know what you bring back that's going to be profitable on the court.
Right.
But if you send out one of those guys, you make the decision of which one, and you attach a small contract like a John Conchar, that opens up one roster spot if you bring back one player. One thing that we've never seen the Grizzlies do as well, like you were talking about signing somebody in free agency, we've never seen them touch the buyout market, and most of the time it's because we got too many guys. We can't bring on nobody unless you hurt some feelings and let one of these players go. Like, that's why we need to stop bringing in everybody friend. That's another conversation for another day. But I think that's another needed thing, because if you can get one of these players that are veterans off the buyout market, bro, like that helps you a lot, and you didn't have to give up really anything outside of just including another salary filler on the trade when you brought somebody back. So I know you didn't ask about this, and I'm not going deep into it, but if you do an OG trade and you give up 2, maybe 3 picks, that's up to them on what they want to do. At least you lock in his contract to be moved next year if he don't want to stay, and you open up another spot to bring in a buyout piece. That kind of just helps you stay afloat and get through this. But if you just say, you know what, we good with DG and we good with DB, and we ride it out and don't do nothing, good luck to us, man. It's just, you living in the land of ifs at that point, and it's scary for us that have never been here before.
Yeah, it's a weird time, and I know people. You want to be a fan? That's great. Honestly, just ride the ride. Just kind of blindfold yourself a little bit, enjoy the ride, because it is fun to be a fan. It's our job to really break down the different aspects of the team. And a lot of time it's not as fun when you're having to do it, because you're trying to think through the different scenarios, and you get too involved. You get a little bit over your head, and you're like, man, I liked it more when I didn't really read Twitter and I was able just to say, hey, they won tonight or they lost tonight. You ride with the wins and losses. And obviously you have 12 more happy days than you have bad days. Especially on a team like this. But I look at the team, man, and I'm just like you. I'm like thinking, like, how can they strategically do it? Because I'm mesmerized with it personally, with how strategically Kleiman can go. And at the end of my piece, I put the meme on there. I don't know if they'll allow it or not, but the whole Woody, when he's holding back, he's like, hold up, let him cook. I put that on there. I put a little, I put some Grizz paraphernalia on them. But I just said, hold up, let Kleiman cook, because I really do think that there's potential where they could figure out a scenario where maybe they want OG, but the price is going to be too high already. Like they already see that. Yeah. What if they're actually driving up the price right now? Because if they're able to drive up that price, what might happen is there'll be more moves that are made, which could give them actually a potential chance to go in and be a third team in more scenarios than they would if nobody really went and got OG. Because the more trades, the more buyouts, the more potential to be a third team. And maybe they just need picks. Somebody needs a pick. We'll send you a player for, for Danny Green, and you can take on the extra money. There's room. And I think that there could be a whole scheme where you're looking at this like it wasn't OG. It was the third man the whole time. It was whoever and somebody that we didn't expect. It was Bojan, even though they just said that they're not going to bring him in. It could be,
but
Boban.
I mean,
Boban.
Let me stop. No, we could put him in a movie or a show when they come to Memphis or something.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's just I will say this. Two things for me, and I'm done pretty much. Number one, if they don't make a move next week, I'm probably going to fall back into that just casual fan mode mentally. Like, I'm not going to stress myself out when it comes playoff time. Yes, I'm going to be rooting. Yes, I'm going to be frustrated when calls are bad and stuff like that. But as far as having my expectations where they are right now, one week away from the trade deadline, they're going to fall. And whatever happens, I'm just going to enjoy the ride. I will say this, if we do give Kleiman and company the credit that we have been giving them, I just know that they are smarter than that to go at this trade deadline and just let these assets walk out the door. I don't know what it's going to be, but I got to give them more credit than that because they know that they're going to put some damper on some stuff if they don't come off season. So I'm going to give them that credit and we'll see what happens. Let's enjoy the ride.
Yeah, 100%. We're over an hour. I don't think I've ever been over an hour on a show. And honestly, I've enjoyed it. And we have 2 days. So it gives a little bit for people to come on here and listen to this. We're going to do a Sunday show, I believe. I think I have the time to do it. My wife has surgery tomorrow. So on my side of things, life's a little crazy right now. So we have that, but I think Sunday should open up where we'll be able to do a show. So stay tuned for that. If you're a loyal listener, thank you for hanging out. If you're new to this, we try to do a lot of post-game shows almost every game, but definitely down the stretch we will mostly every game. But as of right now, we're just kind of picking and choosing mostly weekdays. But Tuesday we have the game against Chicago Bulls. It's the last game before the trade deadline. We're gonna have Sean Coleman of Bill Street. Not Bill Street. Is it BSN? Grizzlies? SBN. BS.
Dang.
Sorry. SBN Nation over there at the whatever they're called. I'm just completely drawing blank. But anyway, Sean Coleman will be with us. So make sure you come into that. Me and him are we're very tight, and so it'll be a good show for that. So this whole crossover week, man, it's been a lot of fun. Do you have anything else before we get out of here? Because we've already ran long, but you know what? We're giving back to the people.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Nothing really coming, man. I got to get back in the swing of things of writing myself. I had some topics that I kind of just set on the table because I was waiting on things to happen, and then life happens. But I'm gonna get back into it, just like you said, because I enjoy it, man. I really do. It's an outlet for me, and so I don't have anything coming with that. But this was fun, man. I ain't been able to be on here in a while because of me and my wife's work schedule. I have my daughter at nighttime while she's working from home a little late, so I can't hop on. I'm always in the comments. Me and Black Lives Matter going back at it, back and forth about Dylan. But it was fun to be on here, actually on the show, and hopefully we have another crossover, homecoming, whatever you want to call it, at some point before the season gets out for sure. So I appreciate you having me, bro.
Yeah, as we go down the home stretch, closing in probably on the last month, and definitely in the playoffs, every game we will have a post-game show. I'm gonna go ahead and say that. What we're planning on doing, and I've not spoken with anybody within our Grizz lead or Grizz 9-on-1 team. We're going to try to have a game, but I can't do every one of them. But my hopes is that I can have people like you on, and then Nathan can have people like Ryan or Luke, and vice versa. And so if you've heard a lot of our other people within the Grizz 9-on-1 family, the Grizz 9-on-1 network, we're going to kind of be going back and forth. That way nobody has to do every game. I'll be on here probably the most, but I think having fresh insight is so much fun because me talking to Nate all the time or Ryan all the time, eventually you want to have something else different, have a little bit of a change up. You don't have the fastball every night. We got a little curveball. But that's what we have. So I want to say thank you to everybody that's obviously listening to this and watching it live. It's always a blast. I love being on here. I think live is so much more fun. We need to get more people in the chat. So if you're listening, come to the chat. Let's talk about it. Black Lives Matter. Shout out at all as always. You're one of the best. Always coming in here and always showing loyalty, man. I appreciate it. But podcast, everybody, appreciate it. Thank you. The most important thing we can always say is be nice and tell your friends.